What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel, or whatever you want to call this little shindig we do here on YouTube. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of questions about the diskless Xbox One that is coming early next year. I got a lot of questions about Scarlet, and I'm trying to piece all this stuff together to make it a little bit easier to understand Microsoft's go forward strategy here with Xbox. And it's looking pretty good. I granted, I'm a little bit, I love Xbox here. This is the one. I still think this is the best looking Xbox console that the company has ever made. I think it's better than the X back here. I just do. Anyways, so let's talk about how Microsoft is planning to win the next generation of console wars. Because if you get into the time machine, if you want to go back a couple months, it came out that Sony was going to launch their next gen console in 2020. Now, I scooped earlier this year as well that Microsoft is planning to launch Scarlet in 2020 as well. And Scarlet, if you're not familiar, is their next gen platform for the Xbox business. And what we're gearing up here for is your traditional, your classic, your run-of-the-mill console wars, right? Both consoles going to launch roughly about the same time. They're going to launch, and we're going to be like, it's going to be a battle. And I think I'm starting to understand how Microsoft is piecing all this together, and I've got a little inside knowledge to help me out along the way. And so let's just dive in here. So currently, we're coming up to a diskless Xbox One X, and this is going to kind of start off the approach you'll see here in the spring. And so Microsoft will offer this. I did a video on it earlier. Go watch that. But one of the things they're going to offer with this, and they're gearing up to launch as well, is called a digital attach. Now, this is codenamed Project Roma. And what it will allow you to do is imagine you go to Microsoft.com, you buy the Xbox One S. It's a One S, but it has no disc, the diskless Xbox. And then you can pick services like Game Pass. You can buy like 2 years of Game Pass and 2 years of Xbox Live Gold. You hit buy and you pay the fee. And when the device shows up at your house, it's all up and ready and running with all your information. It's called Digital Attach. It'll just make the buying experience of a diskless version of Xbox, and it will honestly work with any version of Xbox just a little bit easier. Click, buy, done, show up, and game. That is kind of their strategy here. So moving along, Scarlet is coming along for 2020, and I'm hearing that it's going to be based on AMD's Zen 2 architecture. Now, that shouldn't be a big surprise. Microsoft and AMD have gone back a long way building Xbox-related hardware, and no surprise here, they are going with them again for their next-gen console based on Zen 2, and it's also going to utilize AMD's next-gen GPU technology, their upcoming gen of GPUs. Again, not a big surprise here, right? Next gen console, AMD's upcoming stuff, and there you go. 4K 60 frames per second is on the agenda. Again, no surprise. We already have 4K gaming back here, but right now it's more of the exception, I would say, than the rule. And with the next gen stuff, I think it's going to be the rule more than the exception. But at the same time, this isn't a big surprise. I would very much believe that Sony's next gen console is going to target 4K gaming at 60 frames per second. What I'm saying here is that hardware differentiator, I think, in the next gen isn't going to be as big of a deal as it was in the previous gen, right? Up until this point, it's always been like better graphics, higher frame rates, and all that good stuff. But 4K 60 frames per second is pretty much the holy grail for consoles. Granted, they could chase higher frames per second, but I know I'll get some flack for this, but over 60 frames per second, the value diminishes, right? If you have two consoles side by side and one does 60 frames per second stable and the other one does 72, it's not as big of an argument to say one does 30 frames per second and the other one does 60 frames, right? And so I think from a hardware perspective, we're going to see a lot of feature parity where they can do basically the same thing. So the differentiator is going to come down to a couple different things. One, services. Two, price points. And three, cloud tech. And I think Microsoft has a good strategy here. So there's going to be a multi-pronged approach for Scarlet. We're going to have the streaming service, which is a lower cost version of the console. It's going to be more for the casual gamer, but what it'll allow you to do is to stream gaming, stream games. Microsoft has already talked about this. They call it xCloud. And so that is coming, and they'll have a lower priced console that'll help you utilize that service. So you'll get next gen gaming. It won't be the best iteration of next gen gaming, but you'll get next gen gaming at a much lower price point. Now, for the console enthusiast, you're still going to have your plastic solution at home box like this. And that is going to be the high-end version of Scarlet that will be everything you would ever want in a console, minus all the TV crap that they try to pitch with the original Xbox stuff. And so they'll have that high-end hardware, and then they'll have the low-end Scarlet streaming solution. So they'll attack it from multi-price points, but you'll still be able to play all the same games. That's the key here. All the games will just kind of work. And granted, Microsoft has done a good job with backwards compatibility. I'm hearing that is going to, there's no way that's going to change. That will continue going forward with the next gen hardware. So buy with confidence. Now, the other things Microsoft is working on here are things like Game Pass. You can pay as little as $10 a month and get access to over 100 games, which means, let's just say the price point for the streaming stick is $115. Let's say that. So for $125, you can get access to over 100 games on the streaming stick and have a good experience. I mean, that is really tangible price points that Microsoft is chasing here. Now, they'll have Game Pass on top of this, which they're adding more and more games to all the time. We know that Microsoft is getting serious about first-party IP because they have bought a plethora of gaming studios, and they're all going to be building first-party IP for the Xbox because that's pretty much what Doom did. Granted, the TV stuff did not help, but they chased TV instead of content or first-party games, and now they're going back to chasing first-party games by literally just buying up studios so that they can win, or at least have a fight, a serious fight from day one, and not be scrambling kind of like they are now. So much so, there was a rumor out, I think it was Polygon, earlier this year that says, hey, Microsoft considered buying EA, and I've absolutely heard that was considered at one point. I'm still hearing that Microsoft is looking at Discord as well. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, right? Microsoft, any company will do this. I guarantee Sony has done it, and Amazon probably has well. Every company looks at smaller companies and think, should we buy them? If that's surprising to you, it shouldn't be. But Microsoft still continues to look at Discord because they offer that PC gaming experience that Microsoft doesn't really have right now. They have this kind of weird store thing that works, and then they have this Xbox app on the PC that kind of like works. But the problem with the Xbox app on the PC is that people think that they can play Xbox games on their PC and they can't. And so look for some changes coming in that arena, I would expect here based on everything that I've heard. But they're still looking at how they mesh all that together in a more genuine fashion. Right now, it's too separated. It's not really tied. It's PC gaming or console gaming. And I think some of their cloud tech is going to help that out, which I think is going to be one of Microsoft's biggest unique assets here going forward. Yes, first-party IP will be great, but look what Crackdown 3 is doing with their multiplayer, where it has this dynamic environments that are running up in the cloud that can help you just do some compute for when you blow up a scene in multiplayer. Like it looked really neat. And now you understand why that Crackdown 3 was delayed so much, is that this is going to become the showpiece, if you will, for how you can utilize cloud technology to build more genuine and more fun multiplayer experiences. So when you bundle all this together, this makes me excited because I'm very optimistic about where Microsoft is headed. You have Scarlet coming, which is going to be at a variety of price points, depending on what you want. No big surprise there, and that's what Microsoft's new mantra been, right? You have the Xbox One S, you have an X, both get the same gaming experiences. One is just a little bit better with higher fidelity and frame rate. You'll have that same option with Scarlet. Now, bundle that in with things like Game Pass, and this cloud tech where they can offload compute to the cloud, and the end user has no idea what's going on. And what it positions the Xbox to do is to offer really unique gaming experiences that Sony is going to have trouble matching. Now, it's not that Sony can't match this. They could go spin all this stuff up on AWS or Google Cloud, or pick your favorite cloud provider. Probably not Microsoft would be my guess. And match all this stuff. The thing is, Microsoft doesn't have to spin it up. It's already there. They already have a massive cloud platform. They're just provisioning new servers. It's not simple, but it's significantly easier than what Sony does. So Sony is going to have a challenge of not only having to match the software and service functionality, but also the hardware functionality in the cloud, which isn't what they typically sell. And so I think Microsoft is really positioned themselves well for the generation ahead, and they've still got a few tricks up their sleeve that I'm still trying to piece together here. But I just wanted to kind of bundle all this together, throw a little insider information about what Scarlet is headed and doing, and just, build the hype a little bit, because I don't think people have put all this together about how awesome this is all going to be. So guys, that wraps it up. Smash that subscribe button, do all that other BS. So have a good one. Rock on.